History has been made in Mexico. Claudia Sheinbaum has been elected as the country's first ever female president. She told supporters she would not fail the Mexican people and vowed to reduce violence and improve the lives of women in a country where one of the world's highest rates of femicide. Huge celebrations in Mexico City main Zóchitl, the square there. Ms. Sheinbaum will replace her mentor, the outgoing president Andrés Manuel López Obrador, on the 1st of October. Will Grant is there for us.
A genuine moment of history in Mexico. In a nation where women only got the vote in the 1950s, Claudia Sheinbaum becomes the first woman to break centuries of male domination over the Mexican presidency, shattering the glass ceiling for generations of women to come.
Que por primera vez en 200 años.
For the first time in 200 years, women have reached the presidency, she told her jubilant supporters in the capital's main plaza.
It's historic, completely. It's for the women who are no longer with us and those who are still fighting, not just in the political arena, but in any way where we have conviction as women.
To see someone who comes from the fight at the bottom to the presidency, it's so emotional. For me, it's marvelous.
In a nation of such entrenched machismo, what Claudia Sheinbaum has achieved here is no small feat. Other women have tried and failed, but her offer of continuity with the governing party's social policies, which have pulled millions from poverty, have proved hugely popular with the electorate.
Her critics, in particular her opponent in this vote, Xóchitl Gálvez, are left deeply frustrated, especially by the huge margin of victory. They say her mentor, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, is a populist and an authoritarian, and that Ms. Sheinbaum will govern as his puppet, something she denies. This election has been historic for all the wrong reasons too. It's been Mexico's most violent campaign in living memory, with dozens of candidates threatened and murdered. One of them was the candidate for mayor of Coyuca de Benítez, Alfredo Cabrera, shot in the back of the head by a gunman at his closing rally. His murder was a sign of the huge security task facing Ms. Sheinbaum. A staggering 11 women and girls are killed every day in Mexico, and her critics fear she isn't up to the task of tackling the problem.
If Sheinbaum wins, I think the militarization will continue increasing. They will keep on having ever so more power, both the military and the narco, because they have been together for decades.
For now, her supporters are celebrating having made history. But once the party ends, most voters want the president-elect to prioritise drug cartel crime over all other issues in her in-tray. Claudia Sheinbaum inherits a nation mired in violence. Her challenge now will be to succeed where so many men before her have failed. Will Grant, BBC News, Mexico City.
Vanessa Rubio Marquez served as Deputy Finance Minister of Mexico, and I asked for her reflections on this historic moment for the country.
Definitely, this is a huge historic milestone in Mexico for women, of course, but not only for my generation, but for the generation of my grandmother, my mother. It's been only 71 years since women were granted the right to vote in Mexico. We have had 20 women holding governorships in Mexico. I myself was the first deputy minister of finance in the country in 2016. So we have been moving forward, but still it's a lot in our way to find parity at the end. But yes, this is a huge milestone.
She's incredibly close to the outgoing president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. How will she be different from him, though?
I think Mexico has a very strong presidency, a very strong presidential regime. So I think she will be her own figure, but it's yet to be seen where she stands in very crucial issues, such as the definition of the democratic foundations of the country, the relationship with the legislative, an independent judiciary. How will she come along with this militarization of the country over the last 5 years? Not only security matters, but the military now control the customs and have built a refinery and have built an airport and own an airline. So that's a key issue to define moving forward. And also very key policies such as public finances. We're running the largest public deficit this year over the last 35 years. What the new energy matrix and the new energy policy will be, and also a series of elements in relation to competitiveness of the Mexican economy vis-a-vis the nearshoring expectation effect and our special relationship with the U.S., to which we're the first trading partner and the first source of imports.
A lot to pick up on there, Vanessa, but how would you say she defines herself when it comes to her relationship with the private sector? Is she pro-business?
She has said so. She actually today said it so and gave a huge emphasis to having a good relationship with the private sector, because I think it needs to be understood that it's not the public sector who creates employment, it's the private sector, and that you need the private sector as allies for development and as allies in particular for specific sectors such as energy, such as infrastructure, and many others. So we hope she moves forward in this direction, which is key for the competitiveness and for productivity of the country.
Vanessa, we were listing some of her impressive credentials. I wonder if you think that that influences the way she thinks, the fact that she is a scientist.
I think that will tell a lot, and she would have a challenge to move from ideology to pragmatism to a more rational perspective of government, and most importantly, to an effective government, because this is exactly what Mexicans want. Mexicans want their problems resolved. They want to live in a more peaceful country. They want to end up violence. They want to have employment. They want to be competitive. They want to have access to health and to social security and to education. So the more practical way in which she addresses the most challenging and pressing challenges for the Mexican society, I think is going to determine her presidency.